Psychosis is something that I found to be very stigmatized and is something that is frowned upon. Therefore, I've had to hide my true authentic self from employers. People see people living with psychosis as crazy or they make things up. But would you guess that I live with psychosis? However, due to other people's stigmatization of those living with this condition, I've had to hide my true authentic self. Out of 1,000 people, 14.7% of those live with psychosis. It's a big number. But how many people have come to you and shared their story that they're living with psychosis? We don't until now. So my name's Alan and I live with psychosis. Now, psychosis comes in many different shapes and forms, and yes, there's many different levels of psychosis, and at one point I required treatment to manage my psychosis because the voices that I heard became unbearable. I'm constantly asked, does your psychosis make you make things up, or does it make you do things? And the answer to that is no. My psychosis doesn't make things up. My psychosis doesn't tell me to do things. In actual fact, my psychosis just puts me down, which in turn affects my depression and my anxiety. So for example, I love cleaning and I'll be washing up, and where someone's mind might think, oh, there's a ring mark still in that cup, I'll best give that another scrub. It's actually my voice that tells me that. Now, my psychosis can be my biggest strength or my biggest detriment. And what I mean there is, by my biggest strength, my psychosis doesn't allow me to forget a single thing that I've read or that a person has said to me. It can come at my biggest detriment because sometimes when I don't want it to, my voices will remind me of things that people have said, both good and bad. But my psychosis can also be my biggest strength because as I'm sitting in a meeting and we're discussing a topic, rather than me having to, refer back to meeting notes that happened a year ago or search for that email, I'm able to just directly recall something there and then because it's my voice that's telling me. And actually it's because I've activated a part of my brain that shouldn't be activated. But that's why it can also be my biggest detriment, because sometimes my voices get too loud and noisy, meaning that I need to take some time away. As I'm hiding this, it becomes very difficult because especially, if I need to call in sick for the day, my manager wants to hear me speak on the phone. Sometimes I don't understand why that is. Is this due to a lack of trust and they want to hear that, I'm not doing, I'm not off gallivanting in the Costa del Sol somewhere? Or is it because they are truly just wanting to hear my voice for my well-being? The reason sometimes that I don't like making those calls is because I'm on the phone and I can hear their voice and then I can hear the other voices. So sometimes it might come across that I'm incoherent and I'm not making sense because actually sometimes I might be replying to that voice. And that's why I've chosen to take that day off so I'm able to just manage my voices. I now live a medication-free life. Medication is great, but it is so strong. Imagine it's a medication that's interfering with some of the chemicals in your brain. The medication is so strong, it can affect my daily life. So what do? I use all forms of mindfulness. So I practice yoga, which helps me to focus on the present moment and not my voices. I use meditation to do the same thing. And I also use music. I have a love for music and I have a love for lyrics. And some days my music is turned up a lot louder and that's to drown the voices out. And I'll be singing to my heart's content. And that is my way of living a medication-free life. What I search for with prospective employers, now that I'm diagnosed with psychosis, is hybrid working. And that's because some days my psychosis is at a level where it's manageable and I'm still able to work, but just not be in the workplace. However, at the same time, as a person that lives with psychosis, it helps me to be around people, because being around people drowns out the voices. So I do look for a mix, and I do look for that flexibility. I've never been able to be honest with employers due to the stigma. People share green love hearts and people on mental health first aiders, but how many people would truly accept me for who I am? Let's open up a conversation.